I'm going to repeat. Welcome, everyone. I'm Sandra Wallace, and we are meeting tonight for our usual first Monday of the month. I am still on the Wednesday evening series. So I want to welcome everyone and thank you for being here tonight for our Q&A. As always, we have this opportunity to get together and talk about whatever it is that we need to talk about and answer the questions that you've submitted through the course of the month. And so we've got several questions that have come in that I want to make sure that we address. And I just want to ask if there's anybody out there that has a specific question currently that wants to be addressed early on in the session. If not, I will definitely offer you to be able to ask questions as we go along. This is very informal. I try to keep it as informal as possible, and I appreciate when people ask questions as we go along. Okay, so if there is no specific questions at this time, I'm just making sure my desk is leveled here. Okay. So I can't see you, but can you give me, from a show of hands, can you let me know if you can see the screen, please? I'll just look at the chat. If someone can just respond. I'm going to write, is the sound and slide deck visible? Okay, and I'll just wait for someone to respond with the yes or a thumbs up, please. I appreciate it. Yes, thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, great. Okay, then we'll get started. I just don't know, and sometimes I worry about going through this without having the visible aids. I like to use the PowerPoint. PowerPoint is helpful to just stay on topic and stay on track and be able to focus on the questions that come in. So let's get started. This is an opportunity for us to gather and just share information. So tonight's topic is a continuation of anxiety. We will be on this topic for this month as well as the month of March. And for those who were part of the gathering place, which is every last Wednesday of the month at 7 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, the same time of the day, but a different day of the month. We had our guest speaker in, who was HJ, who was a local pharmacist in the community, actually works out on a reserve and community further north of Winnipeg. And he's had some awesome ideas and suggestions on medication as it relates to anxiety and depression and OCD. We talked a lot about SSRIs and the benefits, pros and cons of medication, and a few other things. So for those of you who missed that, please feel free to go back on the website and get that information, as well as any previous Q&As that we've done. We started this back in September, and we have met consistently throughout the months, and will continue to do so. Whether there's one of you here or 10 of you or multitude of people, if I can say something or be able to share something that can impact your life for the better, then that's what I want to be able to do. So this link that we use for the Q&A is always the same link each and every month. So feel free to keep that somewhere in your computer so you can access it more readily. And we will get started. If there's no questions from the audience, I'm going to go ahead and start and go with the first question that was asked. This came in a while ago. A person was reaching out to me and asked if can technology or apps be useful tools for managing anxiety? And the quick answer is yes, they can be. Now, making sure that you get your information and your technology from a reputable source, just like anything else, just because it's on the internet doesn't make it true. So we've got to make sure that we use reputable sources, reputable apps. These can be useful tools for managing anxiety, and there's various applications designed to provide support for mental health. So one of them being a meditation app. I've listed a few here. I don't know if you're familiar with Headspace or Calm. These two particular apps provide guided meditation and mindfulness exercises to help manage stress and anxiety. Another one is a mood tracking app. Not everyone is aware that there's an actual app that can track your mood. Dailyo or Mood Path allow you as a user to track your moods and identify patterns. This aids in self-awareness and understanding triggers. I can't tell you how important this is because sometimes we aren't able to see patterns initially in our journey along living with anxiety. And often when I get my clients to track their moods, there seems to be common threads throughout that are triggers, and it also brings awareness. And once we're aware of something, we can change it, right? So being able to track it is really, really fundamental. And I'm actually really advocating for that to happen every time I work with a new client, because I see the benefits of it are very, very significant. The third one is relaxation tools. Various apps offer relaxation tools. And one of the more common ones is deep breathing. There's different forms of breathing that we've talked about in previous sessions. There's calming sounds. There's actually been research done on how the brain interprets sounds and how the different types of neurotransmitters will have a calming effect given a certain sound coming in and as it enters the mind. And there's also, if you're more of a visual person, there's visual aids to promote relaxation and reduce stress. The fourth one we talk about is virtual therapy platforms. These are online platforms like BetterHelp or Talkspace. They connect individuals with licensed therapists for virtual counseling sessions. They also provide professional support from the convenience of a smartphone or computer. So you may want to look at considering this as a one-time option, or some people may like it as an ongoing. The only thing with this is I would recommend, if you're going to work with someone, that you try and find someone who's an expert in the field of what you need. So here we're talking about anxiety. So making sure the person is very well and educated in the realm of anxiety. It also can take some time to build a therapeutic relationship. So it's important that you try to stay consistent with someone you're working with so that you don't have to tell your story over and over and over, right? And then there's mindfulness and stress reduction apps. These apps like Insight Timer or Simple Habit offer a variety of mindfulness practices and stress reduction techniques to enhance mental well-being. So some of these names you probably haven't heard before. And the sixth one is cognitive behavior therapy apps. So these apps, such as Woebot or Mood Mission, utilize CBT principles to help users challenge negative thought patterns and develop healthier coping strategies. So again, my big passion and mission is obviously CBT. For those of you who are on that have worked with me as your coach, I can't overemphasize the importance of CBT apps, because when we challenge our negative thought patterns, it's only then that we can start facing the fears and the anxiety as it associates with those thoughts, because we really need to spend the time to focus on what is our negative pattern of thinking, what triggers our anxiety, and how can we start to turn it around. As I always talk about the pivotal shift, this happens over the course of several sessions with clients. We can write down our negative thought patterns, keep track of them, and then be able to see them more objectively. And as a result of that, we have less and less of them, and our coping strategies that we use help keep them at bay. The seventh one is anxiety management tools. These specialized apps focus specifically on anxiety management, offering features like panic attack support, anxiety tracking, and coping mechanisms. And I want to talk a little bit about this too. When we have panic attacks, A lot of times the symptoms can be similar from one panic attack to another, but they can also vary and be very different. So just because your panic attack shows up in one way tomorrow doesn't mean it will show up in the same way in a month from now, or 2 months, or 3 months, whatever it might be. So again, the symptoms, being aware of the symptoms, being aware of new symptoms as you progress along and have reoccurring panic attacks, if that's something that you live with, we're able to track it and then have a discussion around it. There's also anxiety tracking. I like to list all the anxiety tracking when I first start with someone, as we create their tailor-made program, rating their anxiety level on a scale of 0 to 10 or 0 to 100. Obviously, number 10 over the top, or number 100, however you like to record it, being over the top. And then we can start narrow focusing on planning out our days, our weeks, our months in advance. Not so much our months or weeks, but at least our week at a time, and deciding what we're going to work on based on the anxiety level that we have associated with each item. And then there's the coping mechanisms. These are essential. We'll talk a little bit more about them as we go along this evening, but the coping mechanisms have to fit for you. There's many out there, but the most important thing is what works for you in a time of stress. And the second thing I'll mention is it's important to practice those techniques in the comfort of your home and before a crisis occurs, so that you can bring it into a crisis or an anxiety-provoking situation with ease and not be trying to learn it as you're going through anxiety. Okay, so remember that while these tools can be beneficial, they in no way replace the professional advice and treatment, especially when you're dealing with severe anxiety or mental health conditions. So it's important, although you get the education here tonight, that you seek out someone who's an expert in the field so that they can help guide you and coach you along the journey, because it is very difficult to do alone, nor should you have to. You should have someone in the arena with you, fighting for a better life and being able to guide you and share with you ideas and give you hope and optimism. That's the whole goal of every session we have, is to let you know that there's tools out there and people out there that can help you. Okay? So please ask any questions as we go along. I'll try and check on the chat here. Okay, thank you. It's people letting me know that it's working. Okay, thanks very much. Question. The next question is, how can I set healthy boundaries to prevent anxiety from overwhelming me? Oh boy, this is a real full loaded question. What are healthy boundaries, first of all, right? We have to be able to define them. Healthy boundaries are things that you know that you need to do or not do to be able to keep your mental health healthy. So setting healthy boundaries is crucial for preventing anxiety from overwhelming you. So I'm going to talk about a few steps that you can take. And this was a great question, because we all define healthy boundaries very differently and to different degrees of health. So I think it'll make more sense once we go over the answers. So I talk about self-awareness. We need to know what our own needs, our limits, and triggers are. And we need to reflect on situations that have caused you anxiety in the past and identify patterns. Boy, this is an interesting one. I put this first because it's something that I feel I'm going through more recently, with keeping my boundaries and keeping certain people at bay, just because the toxicity and the negativity is so great that I have to be aware of my own boundaries, and I need to keep my boundaries healthy and in check. So if that's you, or it's been you in the past, or you can see this becoming a problem in the near future or distant future, just be aware of ask yourself, what are your needs? And what are you willing to accept and not accept? And again, the triggers. Journaling can help with this, because when we journal, we reflect on what's gone on through the course of the day and evening, and we sometimes can identify certain triggers that are coming regularly or that set us off into the spiral of anxiety. The second thing is to identify priorities. Now, what are your priorities? And focus on what truly matters to you. This will help you allocate your time and energy more effectively, reducing the risk of feeling overwhelmed. I always tell my clients that you have to learn to be selfish, to be selfless. And when that was an initial feeling of mine, I had a hard time accepting it because I thought the word selfish had such a negative connotation, that I'm more of a giver and a person that loves others and wants to make other people happy. I'm a people pleaser. So how could I possibly be selfish, right? It kind of defeated the whole concept of that. But I learned over time, and I won't say it was quickly, I learned over time that the more I gave to myself, the better I was there to serve others more selflessly. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. The third thing is to say no. And I always say no is a complete sentence. No or no, thank you. It's okay to decline additional responsibilities or commitments if they exceed your capacity. Now, saying no is a powerful way to set those boundaries we talked about and protect your mental well-being. And it's hard. It's hard to say no, especially to the ones closest to us, right? So communicate openly. Clearly express your needs and limits to others, and let people know what you can and cannot handle. Open communication helps build this understanding, and it's amazing the amount of respect that you'll gain, providing the person is open and willing to accept it. I think that's an important piece to add to this one, that not everyone will respect your openness. Some people will feel threatened by it. Others will feel intimidated. Others will feel like they have a loss of power over you because of it. So I think you have to put it in the context of each individual relationship that you're relating to, that this may or may not be a positive outcome. So as I was just saying earlier, I have had to allow my communication to be open with certain family members. And as a result of it, I have lost touch with them because I was concerned about some very important issues around certain people in my life. And I had to share that with them. And they did not like that. They didn't know how to communicate. These certain people have never been able to communicate openly or communicate at all. So this was a really tough one. And they saw it as a threat. So the communication lines did not stay open for long. So we also need to make sure, just like we schedule time for our work and our family and things to get done around our homes and our personal life, we need to prioritize self-care activities and schedule them just like anything else. Put them as a priority on your list of things to do. If you need to put it on your calendar and set a timer, these things are an absolute must so that you have time to relax and take part in activities that bring you joy. Because we're so focused on everyone else, by the end of the day, we have no time, nor do we have any energy sometimes to do the things that bring us joy. So whatever that looks like for you, you may have a hobby, you may decide to take up a new hobby. Spring is around the corner, so we can be looking at activities and events to plan in advance. Maybe register for a course or register for something that you find interest in. Or simply just have that downtime, do nothing. Any of these things can help recharge. Okay. Number 6, we talk about a work-life balance, but the reality is we don't have a work-life balance. We can set clear boundaries between our work life and our personal life, but sometimes work dominates because of deadlines and things that are going on in the workplace. And other times our personal life is impacted and we focus a lot on our personal life because there's a lot going on. So try to avoid overcommitting to work-related tasks outside of designated hours, and make sure that you take time for your personal life to maintain that healthy balance. But truthfully, it's hard to maintain at times. and limit exposure to triggers. So if we're able to journal and track our triggers, then we can identify things like certain situations or people who consistently trigger our anxiety, and consider limiting our exposure or finding ways to cope effectively when faced with these triggers. I like to share personal experiences because sometimes they help to relate to the topic at hand. I had to do this years ago when I was working with Dr. Vivian Rowan, who was my psychologist for 30 years now. About 10 years ago, I was having a lot of difficulty with certain family members. And this was her recommendation to me, was to consider limiting my exposure to these family members. And I remember saying to her, I cannot believe that that's even an option. I can't believe we've gotten to this point where I have to limit my time with family. My family is my everything. Why would I ever think of avoiding them or minimizing or putting a time limit on them? But because the relationships were so toxic, it was important for me to detach myself from that environment after a set period of time. Otherwise, it just led me down this negative path. And the triggers were so strong. So I did follow her direction, and it made the world of difference in my life. So that every time these certain family members would come to the city, or we would gather on a special occasion, I knew that I had options. I wasn't stuck there. I wasn't stuck there for 10 hours, or I wasn't stuck having to sleep overnight. I had options. And once you have options, it gives you that freedom to choose. And so I really want you to think about that. And it may not be direct family, it may be work environments, people at work that you're exposed to, or out in certain social settings or certain times of the year. Just know that you can limit your exposure, find ways, creative ways to do so, and even without them knowing. So 8, seek support. Share your feelings with trusted friends and family members or a mental health professional. And when I say family members, sometimes we can't, I know for a fact, and you know for a fact, we can't pick and choose our family, but we can pick and choose who we want to live and surround ourselves and make them our family. So when we say family members, it could be people that you have taken into your life over time that treat you with respect and dignity, and that are more like family than maybe your own family members. Now, having a support system can provide valuable guidance and encouragement as you work on setting and maintaining your boundaries. Okay. So support systems are good to have when you're in time of need. You don't need a lot of them. You just need a few good people that you can count on. Okay. And then the 9th way of doing so is practicing mindfulness. These techniques, such as meditation or deep breathing into your daily routine, can help you stay grounded and manage stress. So we'll talk a little bit more about mindfulness, but just being present in the moment is part of being mindful. And evaluate relationships. Assess the impact of your relationships on your mental health. And like we talked about, establish boundaries who may contribute to your anxiety, and nurture relationships that promote positivity and understanding. Okay. So in summary, let's remember that setting healthy boundaries is an ongoing process. We don't do it once and that's it, right? It requires self-reflection, communication, and a commitment to prioritizing your well-being. So don't hesitate to seek professional guidance if you find it challenging to manage anxiety on your own. A lot of my clients come to me because they have a specific area in their life that's being compromised and causing them tremendous anxiety. And sometimes it overflows into other aspects of their life. But either way, we're able to come up with a tailor-made program to help them overcome it, whether it's in the workplace and family, workplace and society, social phobias, specific phobias, generalized anxiety, agoraphobia, you name it. We can treat it very well and successfully once we know all of the details of what's going on in your life. Okay. So another question that came to us is, what impact does chronic stress have on anxiety, and how can I reduce stress in my life? That's a good one. I like it. Great question. They're all great questions, and there's no stupid question. Sometimes people say, I don't really want to ask this because I think it's a stupid question. No such thing in our world. So when you think of chronic stress, I often tell people that chronic stress, one of the first signs of chronic stress is complaining of physical pain. So often it'll be in the neck or the shoulders, or complaining of headaches, or just feeling lethargic, very tired all the time, even before they recognize it as a mental health concern. So I want to just go over some of the impact that chronic stress, chronic meaning ongoing. We just continue to go through the motions of our everyday life without focusing on doing the things that we talked about earlier to keep our health in check. So I don't know if all of you know this, but the chronic stress, what it does to our body physiologically is it increases our cortisol levels. And it can lead to these elevated levels of cortisol, which is a stress hormone. Now, if we continue to have these high levels and they're persistent, it disrupts the balance of neurotransmitters in the brain and further contributes to anxiety. So it actually makes it worse. It can alter our brain structure. So prolonged stress may impact the structure and function of certain brain regions. I talk with my clients about the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, which is near the front of the brain. These are involved in emotional regulation and decision-making. So that's why when we talk about chronic stress, these changes can contribute to higher levels of anxiety responses. And this makes perfect sense. Each and every time I meet with someone, a lot of times we have to focus on the emotions that are triggered by people's thoughts and not the thoughts themselves. So we have to be able to calm down the anxiety by rationalizing with what it is that's truly going on here. We actually need to respond to our emotions more so. If we can respond to the emotions, that emotional regulation and decision-making that's happening both in the amygdala and prefrontal cortex will calm down. It will quiet down, and therefore the levels of anxiety associated with them will also calm down. Okay. And then the compromised immune function is the third thing that chronic stress can do on us as it relates to our anxiety. The chronic stress can weaken the immune system, making us more susceptible to illness. So physical health problems can contribute to mental health challenges, and this includes anxiety for sure. Okay, so it's more than just feeling anxious or not being able to breathe or feeling weak in the legs or having a rapid heart rate, which those are all really uncomfortable feelings. Don't get me wrong. But I think we also have to take into account the chronic stress and the chronic problems that come because we don't deal with anxiety. So really, really important to start facing it and overcoming it, definitely. This is another area that most of us can relate to, disruption of the sleep patterns. It can involve maybe difficulty falling asleep, or maybe you fall asleep very quickly, but then wake up, or you're aroused very easily and then have trouble going back to sleep. It also results in this disruption of the sleep patterns. So we talk about REMs and rapid eye movements and different stages of sleep. People who live with chronic stress on as it relates to anxiety may never get to those deep sleep stages. And the sleep deprivation as a result, in turn, can exacerbate anxiety symptoms. So just think about a night when you had a disruptive sleep. Sometimes it's really hard to function the next day. But imagine yourself or other people that you live with, or loved ones or friends or family that have anxiety, and they have this impact of disruption as far as the sleep goes. It really takes its toll on the body overall. So ways to reduce stress. What are we going to do? We have to exercise. Physical activity has shown to reduce stress hormones and trigger the release of natural hormones called endorphins. These promote a positive mood. So they give us this natural high that we would not otherwise have. And the importance of exercise is essential to keep feeling healthy. And they say to aim at least 30 minutes of moderate exercise most days of the week. But try to just start, even if you could start with 2 or 3 times a week, that's a great start, and continue to increase over time. Okay. Here's the mindful and meditation practices. They help with the mind, and they also help with the physiological response to stress and improve all overall well-being. So again, consider incorporating mindfulness exercise into your daily routine. I will say that there's a multitude of mindfulness exercises that we can use. And everybody has their favorites, but you don't know what your favorites are till you try them all, right? Or try a few different ones. Some people really value meditation, and it's part of their everyday life. Now, when it comes to healthy lifestyle choices, again, this includes our diet, our sleep, and our regular hydration. These fundamental aspects of self-care contribute to overall resilience against stress. Sometimes our diet too, if we're really sensitive to caffeine and sugars, and that causes more anxiety, sometimes eliminating it altogether is a good idea. And for most people, you know, there's various studies, but anywhere from 7 to 8 hours sleep. Some say they function on a lot less. Some need 10 hours sleep. So it's very individual. And then do an effective time management. So this includes organizing your schedule and prioritizing tasks, breaking large tasks into smaller ones. I call that chunking it down. So they're more manageable steps, and learning to manage your time effectively will help reduce feelings of being overwhelmed. A confused mind can never choose, right? The more confused we are, the more overwhelmed we are, the less we're able to follow through on tasks, on obligations, and on commitments, right? So if we can take those bigger tasks and divide them up, like I said, chunk them down into smaller tasks, in our mind view, we can see it as being more accomplishable because it's not so huge and overwhelming. Okay. And number 5, social supports. Again, the importance of friends and family. Sharing concerns with others will give us both the emotional support and different perspectives. I really like the different perspectives because sometimes we're so far into our own head, that we can't see things objectively. So that's why having a coach, having some good friends or family to be able to share their perspective opens up for some great dialogue. And the relaxation techniques that we talked about early. Guided imagery is another really good one to activate the body's relaxation response. And these can be voice guided images where you use apps where someone's talking to you and walking you through an imagery, or you can create your own, or just have a reading, an article reading through a guided imagery. And number 7, the key is to set realistic goals. If we establish achievable goals and recognize our accomplishments, we're able to feel more uplifting and feel more positive about our future. Unrealistic expectations can contribute to stress and anxiety. So we use a system called SMART. It stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely goals. So when you're thinking of goals, think if they are specific enough, very able to chunk it down. Are they specific in the sense of exactly what you're out to attain? Are they measurable? Can you see results over a time of a week or 2 weeks, whatever it is that you want to put a time limit on it? And then are they attainable in that time frame? And then asking yourself are they realistic that I can achieve this given the time frame and the circumstances? And then the T, doing it in a timely fashion. Putting a deadline to it is really important. And 8, the stimulants. Reduce the intake of stimulants, like we talked about earlier, caffeine, nicotine, as they can exacerbate anxiety symptoms. So we might want to look at herbal teas or water instead, making sure that they're decaffeinated if you're sensitive. And number 9, seeking professional support. So I put a lot of answers to this question because I think it was a loaded question, which is great, but it also requires some thinking and thought to go into what the answers look like. So seeking professional support. If these things such as anxiety and stress persist, it would be a really good idea to seek support from a mental health professional that's in the know of these conditions. Because therapy, counseling, stress, coaching, or stress management programs can provide effective coping strategies. You do not need to have all the answers. All you need to know is that there's somebody out there that can help guide you along your journey. And it's important that you reach out if you do need that support. Okay. Another thing I'll say about that is friends and family can be supportive, but it's not up to them to know everything about your condition, nor is it expected that anyone can. So another nice thing about seeking help outside the family is the people that are trained in the field will be able to fast forward and get you on that. We create what I call a roadmap and get you from point A to B a lot quicker than if you try to do it on your own or you go and tap into the wrong resources. Okay, so engaging in hobbies, spending time on activities like we talked about before, can also serve as a distraction from stressors and provide a sense of accomplishment and joy. Because when we're only thinking about the negative, our brain automatically goes to that, right? So if we can find things to take us away from that temporarily through the course of each day, then we can tend to feel better about ourselves and those around us. Okay, so in summary, remember that reducing stress is a gradual process, and finding strategies that work best for you may require some experimentation. If stress and anxiety persist, the professional guidance is important for comprehensive support and coping strategies. Okay, so how's everyone doing? I'm just going to pause there and see if there's any questions in the chat. From what we talked about already this evening, is there anything that you need clarity on or you would like to share or ask questions or have me elaborate on? Anything at all? How are you doing so far? I'd just like to do a check-in. Does anybody want to mention anything about the topics that we're talking about or the strategies? Is there any need for clarity? No, everyone's good? Okay, so the next question we had come in is, how can I manage anticipatory anxiety, especially before important events or appointments? Wonderful question. For those of you who don't know what anticipatory anxiety is, this person obviously lives with what we refer to as anticipatory anxiety. And this is a form of anxiety that comes to us when we are preparing, like the question is, events or appointments, or even functions. We could put that word in there, before important events, which could be a function in the event itself. What about studies or exams, quizzes, job interviews, job performance evaluations, family reunions. There's many things that we can anticipate. Some of you may be anticipating already what's going to happen next Christmas when you gather together with family. What's going to happen on anniversary dates or birthdays, or how are we going to manage this family reunion? Like, there's so many different things. So plunk in whatever it is for you after the anticipatory anxiety, especially before, and then fill in the blanks, okay? Because this anticipatory anxiety can happen for a variety of reasons. So let's go to the next slide. So here are some effective techniques to help you cope with it. We talked already about mindful relaxation. I just want to say though, when I talk to people about deep breathing, we talk about inhaling deeply through your nose. It's like blowing in, smelling a bouquet of flowers, a nice deep breath. Hold your breath for count to 2 or 3 seconds, and then exhale slowly through your mouth. So you're inhaling through your nose like you're breathing, smelling a bouquet of flowers. You're holding it for a few seconds, and then you're exhaling slowly through your mouth. So the port of entry coming in is your nose, and the port of exhaling, getting rid of it, is through your mouth. Okay. A lot of times we tend to hyperventilate or shallow breathe, which only further causes further symptoms of anxiety and physiological symptoms. Okay. So that's one practice. We can also do progressive muscle relaxation. So sometimes I practice this with clients before I have them go and do it in the comfort of their own home. So muscle relaxation is focusing on tensing and then releasing different muscle groups to promote physical relaxation. So we might start at the head, just squinting the eyes, holding it for a few seconds and releasing it, doing that a couple times, and then maybe doing it with our lips, scrunching up our lips and then releasing, shrugging our shoulders up nice and tight for a few seconds and releasing. And taking each arm and stretching it one way and then the next way. And then squeezing our abdomen and our thighs and our legs and our toes and so on. So we can do that. That's a form of progressive muscle relaxation, meaning we start somewhere and we progress throughout different muscle organs. The other one is engaging in mindful meditation to stay present and reduce racing thoughts. So what I use sometimes with clients is when you're having an anxious moment, be grounded in the here and now, in the present moment, and find 5 things in the room that are red, 4 things that are green, 3 things that are orange, 2 things that are yellow, and 1 thing that is white. And by doing that, you shift the focus from your anxiety onto something that can distract you in the present moment. And that often does, by the time we're at the 1, the person's anxiety has calmed down quite a bit. Not always. It works in some realms and maybe not so great in others, but it's another option. Another one is positive visualization. So visualizing a positive outcome for the upcoming events. So let's just say, this is one that I don't know where I developed this, but I used to be a dental assistant for 8 years before I went back and became a psychiatric nurse for 29. But in those 8 years, I always cleaned my own teeth. So when I finished being a dental assistant, went on to school to become a nurse, I had this tremendous anticipatory anxiety about going to the dentist. I don't know for whatever reason that started, but to this day, I am fearful about getting my teeth cleaned, even though I do it twice a year because I know it's important. So I visualize a positive outcome for that event each time I go every 6 months or so. So I picture myself laying in the dental chair, trying to stay relaxed, and what usually ends up happening is people tell you to stay relaxed, and then I've got this grip on the chairs. I can visibly see myself leaving the chair with these 2 armrests. But what I try to do now, for quite a while now, is I visualize more of a positive outcome. I picture laying in the chair perfectly relaxed with my palms open and face up, and I have my earbuds on and I'm listening to soft relaxation music. And I'm picturing visual images of walking through the forest and the water sounds. And that has helped me tremendously. So it may not apply to your event, but that's one event where I like to use an example. If it's an event where you're going to a wedding, you walk in and you feel relaxed and you smile and you greet everyone politely, and you go out and you have the service and you go back in and have dinner and socialize with people, with some people very briefly, with others more intensely, and see yourself walking away and thanking the bride and groom for coming, for having you be present on their special day. So that could be a picture of the details vividly to create that positive mental image. I will even go as far as using an audio script with some people, depending on what it is that they're struggling with. and it works well. Okay, so challenging negative thoughts. You want to identify and challenge irrational or negative thoughts related to the event. So replace them with more balanced and positive perspectives. So the CBT techniques can be particularly helpful in this regard. So often before an event, I will have my clients working on challenging their negative thoughts patterns so that by the time they get to the event, ideally, they already are aware of the irrational or negative thoughts about the event, and they are already working on their realistic belief system. Like, what is the belief system that they have that these negative thoughts are going to occur at the event? And then what are more rational thoughts? And it takes time, because think about it for yourself. How long has it taken you to get to this point of negative thought patterns? You've been doing it probably a long, long time if you're anything like me. So it's going to take some time to be able to change those thought patterns because they come so readily and they come so easily for us, the negative ones. We have to really work on turning those thoughts into more positive outcome thoughts. Okay, and then there's nothing like preparation and planning. Often we will plan weeks to months in advance with my clients on upcoming events, just so they gain the confidence and they go into that event in a way that I refer to as being armored up. They got their armor, they got their shield on, and they're ready to conquer the world. So part of that is preparation. It's preparing thoroughly for the event or appointment, having a well thought out plan, which can increase your own confidence and reduce your anxiety. So we've done checklists, we've outlined what needs to be done, and we break tasks into smaller, more manageable steps. I often will also, I have 4 different programs that I offer people. In most of my programs, there's emergency calls. So these are times when we will actually schedule an emergency call for around the time of the event or during the event, so that the person knows they can reach out to me and just check in and let me know how it's going and if we have to tweak anything. And sometimes the people forget to call me because it's going so good, which is awesome. I'm happy about that. But there's also times where they really appreciate it, being able to reach out to me. It's kind of like having their little safety net, right? That they know that they have me in their corner through the phone, so they can call up at a certain time or throughout that event. So that's really good. Okay, and time management. Managing our time effectively to avoid feeling rushed or overwhelmed. Those things right there, being rushed or overwhelmed, will just lead to more anxiety, right? And so planning ahead as much as we can to ensure you have enough time for preparation. And what we fail to recognize is also time for relaxation. So that might mean showing up early, might mean showing up with a friend. Distraction techniques. Again, engaging activities that divert your attention from anxious thoughts. So hobbies, reading, listening to music, or watching a movie. Now, there's been studies done that if we just distract ourselves, if we physically move ourselves into a different environment, that our brains shift, and it doesn't take long for us to forget about the previous anxiety moment that we had. So it might just mean getting up from wherever we are and going for a walk. Even 10 minutes can make a huge difference, or reading, any form of distraction. Now, I caution you here though, because sometimes our distractions can be reassuring, especially when we talk about OCD, but this is more specifically related to anxiety and OCD, but and depression as far as that goes. But when it comes to OCD, if we're distracting ourselves too much, it might mean that we're not allowing ourselves to do the exposure that's necessary. So I just want to caution you there. And I can usually be able to tell based on what the person's doing. Okay, number 7 is establish a routine. Create a pre-event routine that helps you relax. So before the event, this might include activities that bring you comfort and a sense of familiarity. So it might be minimizing caffeine just before the event. It might be going for a hot shower or a long walk, whatever it is for you. to create that routine to help you relax. And it might mean going to bed at a regular time leading up to the event, or even if you're at an event, making sure you take time for self-care and walking away from the immediate environment that you're in to help lower the anxiety and practice good routines. And talking to whoever it is that is supportive of you about your anticipatory anxiety, sharing your concerns can also provide emotional support and different perspectives. Okay. And again, grounding, we talked about grounding and present moment by paying attention to your surroundings. So you can actually use things that are very helpful, like feelings of an object. Often people like to touch, they like to have something in their hands that helps comfort them. You remember the pop-ups that were quite popular? People still use those today. Might have a keychain with a little pop-up. I bought one for a friend of mine that was very anxious about going to a mastermind event and she had to fly. So I bought her this little pop-up that's attached to a keychain so she could put it on her knapsack. So when she was in the plane, she could play with it and have it as a comfort. Sometimes just being aware of the scents in the air as spring is upon us, hopefully soon. The smell of the grass, the smell of the flowers, even the smell of wet snow and just the change of seasons and the colors can be really helpful. So acceptance and self-compassion, acknowledge that some level of anxiety is normal before significant events. Be kind to yourself and accept that you may feel nervous and treat yourself with self-compassion. Very important. Okay, so, oh, thank you, Elizabeth. You're asking about the link or name of the keychain for travel. I think I just bought it. I don't know if I bought it at Walmart or a bookstore. It might have been a bookstore. I don't have any specific location, but I think they do have them. Thank you for that. Thank you for asking. I can't give you a direct answer. I think it might have been Walmart or a bookstore I bought it from. But yeah, sometimes those travel places will also have them. So good luck. I hope you find one if you're interested. So going back to the acceptance and self-compassion, it's good to have some anxiety. Don't get me wrong. It's important that we have anxiety because anxiety motivates us, right? It propels us into doing action. But when anxiety becomes a problem is when we spend a lot of time in the space, in that headspace. So when we have anxiety, we do one of three things. We fight, we flee, or we freeze, right? So we want to learn to be able to use anxiety to the benefit, to our advantage, and be able to face it and deal with it and be able to know we can overcome it. That's the most important piece, being able to overcome the anxiety, right? So, okay, so let me just, I'm stuck. Why am I not moving here? Okay. All right, there we go. And professional support. Again, persistent, challenging to manage on our own. Let's reach out to professional supports, okay? And remember that everyone experiences anticipatory anxiety to some degree, but with consistent practice of these techniques, you can reduce its impact and approach important events with greater calmness and confidence, right? We can. So I think this might be the last question. What should I do if my anxiety affects my ability to concentrate or make decisions? Well, we need to step away. Let's take a break from the task at hand for a few minutes and allow yourself to relax and refocus before returning. The deep breathing can help. And even just maybe counting down from 10 to 0 can help. We talked about the mindfulness activities to bring your attention to the present moment and focus on your breath or sensation in your body to anchor yourself. And break tasks into smaller steps. Okay, chunking down and prioritize. So I identify the most critical tasks and prioritize them. Addressing high priority items can first can alleviate some of the pressure. And even giving tasks to other people in the workplace, if that's possible, taking on one and dividing them up equally, or letting go of some of them so that you can focus on the higher priority ones, if that's what you choose to do. And set realistic goals, okay? That's that SMART goal planning. Avoid setting unrealistic goals because they often lead to anxiety. And we talked about the stimulants and the sleep and seeking support, okay? So these are all important parts, and to be kind to yourself. And don't be overly critical, practice self-compassion, and take breaks. Really important. Sometimes we go, and we don't even realize we're in it for 6 hours already. So set timers, use your breaks to stretch, walk, or engage in activities that refresh your mind. So we don't want the mental fatigue, and we want to stay organized. So keep your workspace organized. Use tools like to-do lists. There's calendars. I have a weekly calendar, a daily calendar, and a monthly calendar. So just to help me stay organized. So I'll leave you with this. Have you ever felt that lingering sense of untapped potential when reflecting on your journey into adulthood, or as you go along your journey into life? If so, you're not alone. I'm doing a free webinar on February 26th. It's going to be I'm Living a Happy Life with OCD. It's free to you for the taking. It starts at 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. I will be talking about my journey with OCD and how I am truly living a happy life alongside OCD and anxiety. And I'll share some of my journey along the way. Now, this transformative free webinar is going to unravel the secrets of unlocking your full potential. And you'll also learn to discover how to bridge the gap between where you are and where you aspire to be. So again, February 26th, mark your calendar. Here's the link if you're interested. You can also reach out to us at our email, which I'm going to provide for you to register if you would like. And by all means, please join our Facebook group by searching the OCD Private Coach. This is a closed Facebook group. It's private for those living with OCD and anxiety, and or just anxiety or OCD. And follow us on our social media platforms by searching the OCD Coach for valuable info about anxiety, OCD, and overall well-being, and stay connected and informed on your journey to better mental health. So I will have things in there on a regular basis. So embracing a new chapter in 2024, I don't know what your future goals entail, but maybe it will start with a book for mental well-being. And here is my first book. For any of you that are joining me tonight, I'd like to offer you free this book. This is my first book called Stop Obsessing, Start Overcoming. OCD Leaves Clues. If you reach out to us via email, I will send you a free version of our book in a PDF format. Or you can scan the barcode here, and that will take you directly to Amazon to purchase it. This was my first book. It's a smaller version, but was my first book I've ever written. So I wanted to write a book that was short and to the point on how you can overcome OCD. The same treatment modality we use to overcome anxiety and depression. So it's a book that we can use for all three different types of mental concerns while we're living with them, how to use CBT, what it is. It's the #1 gold standard out there today. And within that therapy is the #1 technique called ERP. So that's all in this book. And the website, scan the code here, or to get your own paperback, or if you'd like, be more than happy to send you out one downloadable PDF of it. For taking the time to be with me tonight, I appreciate it. My second book, which came out, is called OCD. It's called simply the title OCD, Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. And the subtitle was 6 Secrets to the Deliverance from OCD. This book is showing all my vulnerability while living along OCD and anxiety and depression. So here again is a link, or you can scan this barcode. It will take you right to Amazon. And I love this. I mean, I'm really happy with both books. I feel that this book really showed the vulnerability in me. And you know what? Vulnerability is the birthplace of happiness and joy and freedom from the chains that tied me down while I was living with OCD. I still have OCD, but it no longer has me. And my book shares the insights into what I needed to do to make those changes. And then we've got a third book that I was very grateful to be part of, was a book called Reach Your Greatness. It's the top thought leaders that share their secrets for living an extraordinary life. This was my coach, James Malinchuk. I don't know if any of you know him from Secret Millionaire. He was on ABC. He is my coach. And then these two are amazing mentors of mine, Nick and Megan Unsworth. And so they have created this book, and we were allowed to go in and share a little chapter on how we are reaching our greatness. So that book is not available on Amazon. It is only available through our website. So feel free to reach out if you are looking to purchase that one. Okay. All right. So here's our information, our contact information. You can always reach us or visit our website, www.theocdcoach.com. info@theocdcoach.com is our email, and of course by phone, 204-295-4408. I hope that you'll follow us on Facebook, like us on Facebook, subscribe, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and YouTube. So if you're marking your calendar in advance and want to join us for our next Q&A, it'll be on March 4th, same time, 7 p.m. Central, and you can join using this link. And if you want to send your questions in advance, feel free to do so with this link. Okay, so remember, you're not alone in this journey. I'm here to guide you towards a brighter, less anxious future, and I will definitely meet you there. So that is all I have for you tonight. So is there any questions, comments, or concerns, or want any additional information? Feel free to ask me. And if not, I want to thank you for taking the time, your valuable time, to spend with me tonight. If there's anything you think of and you want, thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you as well. If there's anything else that you would like to know about or reach out, I also do 15-minute free consultations, and we can talk about what the concerns are that you are looking at overcoming, and hopefully I can be of service to you. So take good care, and reach out for that book if you're interested. Okay, take care. Bye for now.